In today's video, I am going to be breaking down Paul Pierce and how he shoots the basketball. Paul Pierce, of course, is one of the greatest players of all time, so let's get down and let's check out how he shot the basketball. Okay, so a lot of the time Paul Pierce did shoot the basketball off the dribble, and of course he was very successful at doing so. So when he did pull up for a jump shot, what did he do? Well, he could go left, right, he could do right, left. It didn't really necessarily matter. However, when he did have a so-called set shot, his shoulders were over his knees, over his toes. However, many of his shots were not like that. Now this one, he was tilted at a 90-degree angle away from the rim. Meanwhile, this one, he dribbled into it. However, his shoulders were over top of the ground. They were not lined up with his knees and toes, and that was because he was stopping his forward momentum because, of course, he was really attacking Hoffa off of the dribble here. By the way, that was the worst draft pick of Raptors history. So when he did attack the rim, he did sometimes not have his shoulders over his knees and toes, so he wasn't necessarily always balanced. However, he always had his shoulder and elbow in line with the rim, and that ball at a very high release point most of the time, and it was usually over top of his shoulder, which still does create that shooting triangle I always talk about. And we can see that high release point, or at least set point I should say, right here. And from this angle, most players shoot from down here with their set point. However, their Paul Pierce's set point is well above. We even see it here where it's well above his head. However, again, that's still that shooting triangle that I really like to see players have. Now, of course, his shoulders, again, are angled away from the rim, and this is something that a lot of coaches and trainers over history have really actually messed up, in my opinion. Everyone wants you to be totally straight towards the basket. However, you are always going to be tilted in most cases, and if you really want to get that elbow and shoulder in line with the rim, you're going to be needing to be tilted, especially if you have a high set point like Paul Pierce. You're going to be really wanting to be tilted away from the rim. Now, in a lot of cases, we do see that Paul Pierce's feet were almost duck-like, where when he was shooting, they would be pointing away from each other. He would also bring his knees together when he did shoot the ball in most cases, and of course, like I was mentioning, he is tilted away from the basketball net. Something else that I really want to point out is, of course, his hand placement. We can see that there is a gap between his palm and the ball. However, we can see that that offhand is more on top of the ball than it is on the side of the ball. And what that does for Paul Pierce, especially with having a high set point, is that keeps that hand out of the way of his face and his eyes so that he can still see the rim. He will also do very similar moves as Kobe Bryant, where he'll do that fake half spin and turn around. Now, when he does turn around, these turnaround jump shots, he does tend to bring the ball up the middle of his body. And we can see that here, and with that high release, we can see that that's really hard to block. He also had a hard release, which means that his hand didn't curl in most cases. It was just basically bent at the wrist, very similar to a Michael Jordan. We also see that leg kick that we see with Kobe and Michael when they do these turnaround jumpers, and you're really going to want to do that. What that leg kick does for you is it gets your right side, your shoulder and elbow in line with the basketball net, and that is an absolute beautiful release right there, very nice and high, and that release allows him a lot of backspin. The harder your release, the more backspin in general you're going to have. Also, something notable is there is a very slight thumb flick because that thumb ends up pointing forward on his shot. However, I really want you to really emphasize the fact that that thumb flick is not a traditional thumb flick where it's pushing the ball out towards the right side. It's really a I wouldn't even mention it really, it's just something that I've seen really quickly. Also, when it comes to his release, what we do see is he does tend to release the ball when it comes to his pointer and middle finger. When it comes to a step back, he has a soft release, but when it's a set shot, as we've seen, he does tend to have a hard release. Now, in this really quick clip as well, I really want to show you that even though his elbow is above his shoulder, he still has a close to 90-degree bend when it comes to his shot. That's going to be a much faster release for him. Now, Paul Pierce was one of the best players of all time, and of course, I hope that this video can help you shoot the basketball better if you have a high set point like Paul Pierce. Anyways, I'll see you guys again in my next video. I hope that this has helped you.